The first we knew of the alien invasion was when their robots landed in the outskirts of Tokyo. Sleek metallic cylinders dropping from the sky, they touched down with hardly a sound. I was in my apartment at the time, enjoying a rare day off from work when the emergency broadcast alert came through on all channels. This is not a drill. Unidentified objects have entered Japanese airspace and landed southwest of Tokyo. The self-defense forces are responding, but residents are advised to shelter in place until further notice. Repeat, this is not a drill. I rushed to the window and peered out, but saw no sign of the robots yet. Just the usual city bustle outside, none the wiser to the potential threat approaching. I pulled out my phone to call my friends, but the networks were already overwhelmed. It seemed everyone was trying to reach loved ones or find out more information. I decided to head downstairs and see if anyone in the building knew any more details. In the lobby, I found a small group had gathered, watching news reports on a large tablet. The footage showed robot prototypes we had never seen before, slowly advancing across open fields. They moved with an eerie sort of grace, 4 spindly legs lifting and placing each one delicately before moving forward. On their backs were mounted various sensor pods and weapon housings, as if they had been purpose-built for combat or reconnaissance. The self-defense forces were engaging them now with small arms fire and grenade launchers, but the robots' armor seemed impervious to such primitive weapons. They did not fire back, still cautiously moving forward as if awaiting further orders. Who or what was controlling them and to what end remained a mystery. Everyone exchanged worried looks. We all knew it was only a matter of time before the robots reached the outskirts of the city, and then what? How could we possibly fight off an unknown invading force with such advanced war machines? Panic began to set in as more residents joined us, clamoring for answers no one had. I did my best to remain calm and think positively, hoping the JSDF could come up with a plan before it was too late. That's when Keiko pushed her way to the front of the group, laptop in hand. She had been monitoring emergency communications and sensor feeds through back doors in various government systems. As Japan's top young hacker, such covert monitoring was second nature for obtaining information faster than standard broadcasts. According to intercepted transmissions, the robots' handlers are an alien species we've had no contact with before. They seem eager to establish dominance and claim our planet as their own. But get this, their control protocols are wireless and unencrypted. A murmur of hope arose amongst us. If the robots could be hacked, with the right code, we might be able to turn them against their masters, Keiko continued excitedly. But we'll need to act fast before they adapt their security. Who's with me? Without hesitation, everyone volunteered to help however they could. If the authorities couldn't stop the invasion, then it was up to ordinary citizens like us. Keiko began assigning tasks, some to assist with coding, others to gather supplies and equipment from local stores and shops. Revolution was in the air, and humanity was not going down without a fight. Within an hour, we had set up a makeshift command center in the building's largest function room. Keiko took charge at the center of a flurry of activity, commandeering every device with an internet connection to run simulations and test potential exploit code. Her skills were formidable, but would it be enough against an advanced alien target? Meanwhile, I coordinated deliveries of fuel cells, tools, spare parts, anything that could be repurposed for defense or mechanized support. Our numbers were still growing as a word spread, and morale was high knowing we fought for the very survival of our planet and species. But would we be ready in time? Reports indicated the robots had reached the outer ring of suburbs now under cover of darkness. They moved methodically street to street, sensors probing for signs of resistance. A few smaller scouting units broke off from the main force, no doubt to gather intelligence for the next stage of invasion. Their mission seemed to be to overwhelm Tokyo's defenses before moving on to establish a beachhead. But we had other plans for them. "I've got it!" cried Keiko suddenly, snapping me out of worried reflection. "These bots use a simple broadcast protocol, just waiting for the right authentication. With a patch I've written, we can intercept that signal and hijack the connection." She turned to me. "We need to lure some of the scouts away from the main group for a field test. Think your crew can handle that?" I smiled confidently. "Just tell us where and when." We had come too far to fail now. Under cover of night, a small team led the scouting robots on a chase through side streets and alleyways, keeping visual contact while transitioning between relay points. Thanks to Keiko's code patch installed on hijacked traffic cameras and others pieces of IoT infrastructure, we were able to continuously monitor and redirect the machines away from populated areas. When the timing was right, Keiko gave the signal over our hacked network. A playback of the aliens' commanding signal lured the scouting robots into a deserted construction site, where her custom firmware update delivered via a drone swiftly overloaded their processors. Within seconds, the machines turned on each other in a frenzied confusion of slicing limbs and blaster fire. It worked flawlessly. We had proven humanity's cunning could outwit even an advanced alien race. With this success under our belt, Keiko raced to refine her technique for remotely commandeering the entire invasion force. The battle was far from over, but now we had hope. Under cover of darkness, our teams fanned out, guided by Keiko's abilities to monitor and manipulate the enemy network of machines. One by one, main units and support robots alike fell under her domination as their signals were intercepted, control protocols overridden, and new directives uploaded. Soon, the invaders turned on each other throughout the streets of Tokyo in a chaotic melee of sparks and screeching metal. By dawn, the last robots had been dismantled or stood motionless, awaiting new commands from their new masters. We had prevailed through guile and technical acumen, where brute strength alone had failed. As the sunlight revealed smoking piles of alien scrap for all to see, a roar of triumph and pride arose from every neighborhood where citizens had participated in the defense. Our planet remained free that day thanks to courage, ingenuity, and citizens coming together for the greater good in humanity's hour of need. Keiko has since been honored as a national hero and holds workshops to spread her hacking skills for protection. As for me, I'll never forget the ordinary people who became heroes when we faced extermination. Our species' ability to adapt and overcome through cooperation may be our greatest strength. The aliens vastly underestimated humanity. We will defend our home by any means necessary. I'm sure this is just the beginning, and in the battles to come, our secret weapons will be hope, compassion, and collective genius that has always defined our true nature. The future remains unwritten. In the aftermath of our victory, the cleanup and recovery efforts began. Keiko's commanding hacking skills had disabled the invading robots, but their shredded metal corpses still littered the streets. Volunteer crews were organized to break down the alien machines and haul away the scrap for proper disposal. I volunteered to help coordinate these efforts from a coordination center set up in our building. Word was just starting to spread about what had transpired under cover of darkness. Citizens emerging from shelter saw the smoldering robot ruins in disbelief that an invasion had been thwarted. News reports struggled to explain how ordinary people had defended Tokyo where the military failed. As we worked, I thought back to how our ragtag group had come together. Keiko, Japan's premier young hacker. Her technical skills were evident, but underneath was a fiery passion for using her gifts to help others. Despite her reclusive nature, in times of crisis, she shone as a natural leader who inspired confidence. And my friend Akihiro, who managed the loading and hauling crews with quiet efficiency. On the surface, he seemed a shy salaryman, but a lifetime spent around machinery gave him insightful mechanical knowledge. His calm demeanor kept workers focused during the long hours. I too was just an average office worker before this, but having a knack for logistics and people skills made me suited for coordination. Sometimes it takes an extraordinary crisis to bring out hidden talents in ordinary people. Together, through diversity of skills and united purpose, we formed the core that rallied Tokyo's defense. In the weeks that followed, demand grew for Keiko to share her hacking expertise more widely. She granted selective interviews, always declining to reveal technical details but stressing the importance of networking people from varied backgrounds. True security comes from empowering communities, not just technological defenses. We must help each other. Her message resonated and community groups sprang up across the city. Neighbors who once barely spoke now trained together in first aid, cybersecurity basics, and more. A sense of vigilance mixed with goodwill pervaded the streets. Life slowly returned to normal, yet we knew things would never be quite the same. One cool autumn evening found me helping Akihiro distribute supplies to one such local group. As we worked, he confided his worries for Keiko handling such sudden fame. The stress is getting to her. I think she just wants to code in peace again. I nodded understandingly. While reserved over the weeks, I had come to know Akihiro's thoughtful, caring nature. His concern for others often went unspoken. Perhaps a break is in order. Why not invite her to your family's hot springs retreat this weekend? Akihiro visibly brightened at the idea. The relaxation and quiet surroundings may do her good. I'll help make the arrangements. And so that weekend, the three of us embarked on a tranquil, rural getaway. Keiko seemed to relax as soon as we arrived at the quaint traditional inns. Steaming bathes under the stars, home cooking and soothing nature surrounding us all. That evening over tea by an outdoor fire pit, Akihiro spoke of how his family had tended the springs for generations. His passion for the land was clearly a balm for his gentle soul. Keiko listened with new interest, asking what crops they grew, the local history. A bond was forming between them I had not expected. Later, as we strolled moonlit forest paths, Keiko confided her deepest fears to me. What if more invaders come? Can I really protect people with codes alone? There must be a better way. Her determination was admirable, if misguided. I placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Have faith in small kindnesses, as your friend Akihiro does. One by one, hearts and minds united can overcome any threat. You've already given people hope. Now let others strengthen you in turn. She met my gaze thoughtfully. From that moment, a subtle calmness entered Keiko's bearing. The next day, I noticed new ease between her and Akihiro as they helped in the onsen's garden together. Seeds of understanding were taking root, it seemed, which filled me with warmth. All too soon, our retreat ended and real-life duties called us back to Tokyo. But a renewed spirit buoyed our steps. Keiko visited the hot springs more often after that, and talk emerged of Akihiro tending a garden plot in the city. Connections formed through crisis had blossomed unexpected beauty. Weeks passed peacefully until disturbance arose once more, though not from outer space this time. Radical dissent had swelled against authorities seen as complicit before the invasion. Violent protests now threatened public safety. The authorities pleaded for peace, but tensions remained high. It seemed catastrophe loomed unless understanding could be found between all sides. Keiko proposed opening online communication channels for respectful debate moderated by community leaders. Her ideas centered around internet tools and education, not control, a reflection of lessons learned. In this rising challenge, did Keiko's way of networking people offer hope where force might fail? And what role could Akihiro and I play in supporting a non-violent solution? Our city stood at a crossroads. The future, as always, remained unseen, but facing it together gave us strength. Whatever came next, the bonds of compassion forged through crisis would light our path. Despite Keiko's efforts to open dialogue, some protests grew increasingly volatile. Radicals began disrupting transportation infrastructure and organizing work stoppages. Their message was one of frustration at the system, but their tactics risked hurting innocent people. The government response also intensified. Riot police with armored vehicles now met demonstrations. Clashes broke out as tensions mounted on both sides. It seemed violence would soon spiral out of control. At a coordination meeting with community leaders, Keiko voiced grave concern. We must intervene before things escalate further. What if we form non-violent blockades to protect infrastructure and use live streams to show the world our peaceful intentions could overcome force? Akihiro squeezed her hand supportively. I'll help however I can. My farming contacts have supplies we could use as well as able-bodied volunteers. Ever the calm voice of practical solutions, I spoke up. My network can help protect and publicize your efforts, but there is risk. The authorities may not show restraint if provocations continue. Keiko met my worried gaze steadily. Change never comes without risking something. All we can do is have faith in each other and in the basic goodness of all people. And so plans were set in motion. That weekend, crowds of ordinary citizens converged on transportation hubs across Tokyo, dressed in fluorescent safety vests. They carried no weapons, only placards advocating open discussion over destruction. Live streams from drones buzzing overhead broadcast it all to virtual audiences worldwide. Keiko and Akihiro's combined efforts ensured the blockades had ample water, first aid, and provisions. Farm trucks blocked side roads for mobile infirmaries if needed. It was a massive decentralized operation carried out with meticulous non-violence and care for all. The authorities' response started slowly, small policing units moving to open routes, but their restraint was notable given the crowds. Keiko's approach seemed to be succeeding through empathy and transparency alone. That's when reports came in of an extremist faction breaking off from protests downtown. They carried improvised weapons and threatened escalation. Live streams showed them racing towards one of the blockades, howling violent slogans. Panic swept through the blockade volunteers, but Keiko kept calm over the open comms channel. Do not engage no matter what. Remain peaceful. Our example is the only way through this. I prayed her words would spread in time. From our control center, we dispatched support teams and alerted the authorities, hoping to intercept the radicals en route. But it was a race against anger and hatred. Would nonviolence hold? Suddenly, the extremists crashed into the blockade, hurling projectiles. Volunteers linked arms and remained steadfast despite blows raining down. I watched helplessly on screens as supporters rushed to pull friends to safety, medics treating wounds. Then, through the chaos, strode Akihiro, towering farmer's physique, a stark contrast to his usual reserved manner. He marched unhindered through the melee until standing nose to nose with the self-styled leader, calmly but firmly spoke over the din. Miraculously, the man listened, rage visibly draining as they talked. Soon, other radicals were listening too, tension diffusing bit by bit. A change had come over the mob. They were people again, not demons, with problems that deserved hearing. As authority finally moved in to detain agitators peaceably, cheers rose from the blockade that non-violence had held firm. The extremists were led away subdued but unharmed. Crisis had been averted, not through force but through courage, empathy, and diplomacy, showing a better path was possible. In the aftermath, crowds thronged the blockades not to confront but bring offerings of thanks, food, medical aid, and stories of renewed hope. By remaining steadfast yet flexible, valuing all lives with dignity, Keiko's vision had prevailed. Her networks continued transmitting these stories far and wide. The authorities, too, made conciliatory gestures, dropping some charges against peaceful protesters and pledging to address valid social issues through open counsel. With good faith on both sides, reconciliation could at last begin in earnest. That evening found our small group relaxing at a favorite izakaya amid happy crowds. Keiko's methods had guided us through darkness, as Akihiro's compassion helped steer others to the light. Together, ordinary people from varied backgrounds had proven that unity and basic human goodness could overcome any threat, from within or beyond our world. As sake cups were refilled amid laughter at unassuming triumphs, I gazed at my dear friends and marveled at the extraordinary that emerged from ordinary lives when facing crisis as one. Whatever challenges tomorrow held, with empathy and courage as our weapons, humanity's spirit would endure. In the months following the crisis, Tokyo entered a period of cautious optimism. Reconstruction efforts accelerated as people worked side by side with renewed purpose. Keiko's model of open online forums thrived as a platform for productive discussions nationwide. Akihiro took a leading role ensuring farmers' voices were heard on issues of land rights and sustainable practices. Though reserved in large crowds, one-on-one his way of actively listening with empathy won many allies. Seeing him in his element filled me with warmth. As for our team, we focused on monitoring for potential disturbances while promoting healthy community engagement. Minor flare-ups did occur, but Keiko's networks helped resolve tensions before escalation. A delicate peace had taken hold, though we knew dark forces still lurked both within and beyond. One crisp autumn afternoon found me surveying reconstruction of the Shibuya crossing with local volunteers. Pride swelled at the community spirit on display, yet a heaviness clung to my heart. I couldn't shake a bad premonition. That's when alerts lit up my devices. Anomalous electromagnetic activity had been detected approaching from outer space. Within hours, objects were tracked entering atmosphere and parachuting to scattered rural locations under cover of night. Were these more invaders, or something even more sinister? Emergency meetings were hastily convened. Keiko remained ominously silent, tapping furiously at her keyboard to analyze sensor readings. Finally, she spoke. The materials and configuration don't match the previous robots. These seem biological in nature, like some type of seed or spore pod. Her words sent a shiver through us all. What kind of life forms could survive space travel in seed form? And why distribute in rural zones under cover of night? Nothing about this boded well. Akihiro spoke up. I have contacts in the areas where pods landed. Let me go investigate discreetly. 2 concerned citizens will attract less attention than groups. His calm practicality helped steady jittery nerves. But I couldn't ignore a terrible premonition gripping my heart at the thought of him going alone. I'm coming with you. Safety in numbers, and... I hesitated. I simply cannot leave your side at a time like this. Akihiro smiled gently, grasping my hand in silent understanding. Plans were swiftly made to depart under guise of night market scouting as Keiko continued analysis. A fleet of drones stealthily followed overhead thanks to her upgrades. The dark countryside roads seemed especially eerie that night. We said little, minds racing with worries, holding hands for comfort against encroaching fears. Eventually, rural lights emerged ahead, our destination. Cautious inquiries yielded concerning results. Locals reported strange grayish pods raining down, some cracking open next sunrise to release wispy tendrils that crawled into the soil. Crops withered unnaturally fast around affected spots. Wasting no time, Akihiro and I donned protective gear to examine a fresh site under drone floodlights. The pods were oblong and spongy, riddled with intricate patterns too orderly to be natural. One punctured open by our approach, oozing thick fluid, and was that movement within? Heart pounding, Akihiro edged closer for a better look. That's when a thin gray tendril lashed out, wrapping around his ankle with startling speed. I lunged to help, but more tendrils erupted, encapsulating us both in a tight, leeching embrace. Our cries were muffled by the parasitic growth constricting mercilessly. Through a blur of panic and flailing limbs, I managed one desperate message to Keiko over our implanted sensors before connection cut out. "Help! It's happening! Save us!" Then blackness took me into its suffocating grasp. When consciousness returned, I found myself restrained on a makeshift cot amid frantic activity. Keiko and medics worked tirelessly to stabilize our failing vital signs. It seemed rescue teams led by Keiko's drones had cut us free just in time from the invasive parasite attaching us to the pod, leaching fluid and cells in some terrible symbiosis. But what lasting effects? Waking fully, I rasped, "Akihiro, is he—" Keiko shook her head grimly. "He's stable, but neural readouts show the thing linked directly into his cerebellum. If we can't detach it cleanly—" Her voice cracked with unspoken fears. I clutched Akihiro's cold, limp hand in mine, willing strength and hope into his failing form. Outside, the wretched pod's tendrils encroached further across once fertile fields as helpless onlookers looked on in horror. Had some new silent invasion begun? One exploiting fears and divisions instead of open conquest. I gazed upon Akihiro's pallid face, seeing past the quiet farmer to the compassionate soul who'd done so much to build bridges. He couldn't be taken from us, not when hope was needed most. Something had to be done before the creeping horror consumed us all. With Akihiro's life hanging by a thread and our fragile peace on the verge of shattering, humankind faced its darkest hour yet. But wherever there is love and courage, there is also a way. Despair gripped my heart as I watched over Akihiro's still form. Keiko redoubled her efforts analyzing the parasitic organism infesting his brain, but to no avail. Traditional treatments only hastened its virulent spread. Time was running out for him and potentially our entire world. Unless an idea took shape, risky, but our last hope. I turned to Keiko. "You said these things seem technologically advanced, yes? What if we fought them with science instead of force?" Her eyes lit up, grasping my intent. "An electronic countermeasure. If I can isolate its communication frequencies, there may be a way to hack its directives remotely." Hope ignited as plans fell into motion. Calls went out rallying engineers, coding collectives, and more. An all-hands operation materialized around Akihiro's bed within hours, tapping unlimited brain power towards our shared goal. Even radical fringe groups lent anonymized contributions. All understood now that no division could stand against this silent invasion. Keiko raced frantically against the clock, dissecting parasite specimens brought from the field. Subtle wireless signals were indeed detected, a rudimentary network coordinating its spread, now to design a firmware override. As day broke, her exhausted cheer rang out. "I've got it! With these drones broadcasting a carefully engineered variant signal, we can overwhelm its native code and overwrite directives." Medics readied for the procedure as techs rushed outdoors. The drones took flight, filling the sky like metallic petals on the morning breeze as they began transmitting Keiko's masterwork signal payload. Would it be enough? Inside, tension gripped the room as monitors tracked changes within Akihiro's brain. At first, nothing. Then the barest flutter as the invader writhed under the new directives. Its tendrils pulled tighter, eliciting pained moans. then slowly began retracting from his neural pathways. With an agonizing slither, the last vestiges withdrew, leaving reddened flesh in its wake. Akihiro gasped, eyes flying open to meet my tearful gaze. Weak laughter and sobs of relief filled the space as medics confirmed full recovery projections. Keiko's gambit had succeeded. Fresh data pouring in showed the signal propagating miraculously across infested zones, deadening the nano-weft's toxins wherever it touched down. Crops straightened, color returned to blanched fields under the drone's watch. For the first time, humankind had turned an insidious invasion back upon itself through ingenuity and solidarity. In days that followed, all focused on mopping up residual parasites and bolstering localized defenses. Engineers worked with farmers and local collectives towards self-sustaining solutions, undoing divisions. Akihiro recovered steadily amid round-the-clock care, regaining his quiet strength. A week later found our circle relaxing outdoors amongst celebration. Reconstruction efforts had accelerated with renewed purpose and cooperation across territories. Scattered flare-ups were now easily contained. While uncertainties remained, it seemed the gravest threat had passed thanks to all who answered the call in our hour of need. As the setting sun painted the sky in watercolors of rebirth, Akihiro took my hand. Without your faith in humanity's ability to overcome together, I may not be here. Marry me, and let's build a future worthy of the hope you've given me. Tears blurred my joyful reply. Later, as Keiko and friends gathered round, hands joined in vows cementing bonds far deeper than law or culture could define. Laughter and music washed away the darkness as lanterns lit the night, reflecting the light in all people that could never truly be extinguished. Our world would face challenges ahead, but having found strength united against even silent invasions, the human spirit would endure. Love, courage, and a belief that together, ordinary lives could achieve extraordinary things. With these, there is no force that can overcome humanity.